I've never been someone who causes scenes. I avoid drama like the plague, and if there's tension in a room, I'm usually the first to try to ease it. But what happened at my brother's engagement dinner? It still doesn't feel real. So I'm 26. My grandma passed away when I was 18, and before she died, she gave me something really special, her ring. It's not extravagant or anything, just a thin gold band with a small diamond. But it was hers. She wore it for decades, and when she handed it to me, she smiled and said, "For your future." That's always stuck with me. It wasn't just a ring. It was her love, her memory. It's the only thing I have of hers, and I've worn it on my right hand every day since. It became a part of me. Now my brother Jake, he's 28. He just got engaged to his girlfriend, Maya. He's sweet. A little intense maybe, but nice. A few weeks before the proposal, Jake asked if he could use Grandma's ring to propose to Maya. And I said no. I told him gently, clearly no, that it was a gift given to me, that I wanted to keep it for my own engagement, whenever that might happen. He looked disappointed, but he nodded. I thought that was the end of it. Fast forward to the engagement dinner. Mom booked this cozy Italian place. You know, white tablecloths, fairy lights, the whole big night vibe. Everyone was in a great mood, toasting the happy couple, taking photos. And I was wearing the ring like I always do. At one point, Mom asked to see it. I didn't think anything of it. I held out my hand, figuring she was feeling nostalgic or just showing it to Maya. Everyone around the table did that little "ah" thing. But then, Mom said something that made my stomach drop. She goes, "Let's see how it looks on Maya," and she reached for my hand. Felt like time slowed down. Jake laughed like I was being silly. "Come on sis, just let her try it on. We can get it resized later." And Maya, she actually held out her hand, like she was expecting me to slide it onto her finger right then and there. And I just froze. I pulled my hand back. My voice came out quiet at first, but firm. "It's mine. Grandma gave it to me." The whole table went silent. I could feel the air shift, like a party balloon deflating in slow motion. Mom's face twisted. "You're being selfish," she snapped. Jake's smile dropped. "You're ruining our night over a piece of metal," he said. And Maya, her hand slowly lowered. Her cheeks went red, and she looked down at her plate. I felt like the villain in a play I didn't audition for. Dad tried to step in, calm things down, but Jake had already stood up. Maya followed. Then Mom, they just left, right in the middle of the dinner. I sat there, stunned, the weight of that tiny ring suddenly so heavy on my hand. The next morning, I woke up to a storm of texts. Over a dozen from Jake, some from Mom, a few from relatives who weren't even there. Jake said I humiliated Maya, that it's just a piece of metal, that keeping it in the family meant giving it to his fiancée so she could wear it as an engagement ring. Mom said Grandma would have wanted it on someone's left hand, not my random finger, and that I'd blown everything out of proportion. And maybe I did. I've been turning it over in my head ever since, wondering, should I have just let her try it on? Would that have avoided everything? But here's the thing. It wasn't about the ring looking pretty on Maya's finger. It was never about that. It was the way they did it, in front of everyone, after I had already said no. It wasn't a casual moment. It was pressure, emotional public pressure, the kind that makes it 10 times harder to say no. Because once that ring slipped onto Maya's hand, at her engagement dinner, how could I have asked for it back without looking like the bad guy? It wasn't just a try-it-on moment. It was a symbolic gesture, one that could have rewritten the story of where that ring belonged. And maybe I could have handled it differently, sure. Maybe I should have seen it coming, pulled Jake aside before dinner, reminded him again that the answer hadn't changed. But I never imagined they'd try to take it in front of everyone. Hurts, not just because of the fight, but because it feels like they see the ring as some communal family heirloom to pass around, when to me it's deeply personal. It's mine. It was given to me. And for what it's worth, I think Grandma knew what she was doing when she gave it to me. She didn't say, "Hold this until Jake gets engaged." she said. For your future. No, I'm not giving it away. Not now. Not like that. And if that makes me selfish, then I guess I'll wear that label, right next to the ring on my finger.
We've been together for over a year now. And for the most part, it's been great. You know when you meet someone and think, yeah, this could be it. This could be my forever? That's how I felt about her. I'm still in university, but I've been grinding nonstop. Between finishing my degree and running an online business I built from scratch, I've finally started to see real results. I even landed a high-paying job offer, something I'd been dreaming of for years. Everything was lining up. The future looked bright. And I saw her in it. Until one night, she looked me dead in the eyes and asked a question I didn't see coming. She said, "Will you buy a house for me and put it under my name only?" I paused, thinking she was half joking. But her face? Stone serious. She meant it. So I told her the truth. I said, "I want our first house to be in both of our names. I'll pay for everything, you won't even have to work if you don't want to, but I want it to be ours." I thought I was being fair, generous even, but her expression changed. Her lips tightened. Her eyes narrowed. She got angry. And not just upset, really angry. She told me it was about safety. That since she's from a foreign country and moved here to be with me, she needed something to feel secure. Something that was hers, just hers. That the house, with only her name on it, would give her peace of mind. I told her I understood where she was coming from, but it didn't make sense. I was going to pay for it, completely, so why couldn't it be shared? That's when she got even more upset. She said I'd changed. That I used to care about her feelings, but now I was ignoring them. That when it came to expensive things, I hesitated. That this wasn't the kind of love she wanted. That if I really loved her, I wouldn't think twice. She told me that she had trust issues, that her mom owned all the property in her family because her dad had bought it and then later cheated. That this was how her mother protected herself. She said, "What if you cheat in the future? What if you become like those men? This is just how I want it. It's for my safety." I just sat there, stunned. Here I was, offering to build a life with her, to shoulder everything, to make sure she never had to worry about a single bill, and somehow, that wasn't enough. I told her again, calmly this time, that I didn't think what she was asking for was fair. I'm not some ATM. I'm not some character in a fantasy who's just going to sign everything over in blind devotion. I love her, yes, but love shouldn't come with ultimatums. She didn't take that well either. That night, she cried. I held her. But deep down, something shifted in me. Something cracked. Over the next few days, I kept thinking about it. Not just the house, but the pattern. The arguments. The pressure. One day we'd be fine, happy even, and then the next, we'd be fighting over something like this. Something that felt more like a test than a conversation. I started asking myself questions I didn't want to ask. Is this what love looks like to her? A house in her name, to protect her from me, just in case I turn out to be like the men in her family stories? Is that how little she trusts me? Is that how little she trusts love? And maybe most importantly, why am I the one being asked to prove myself? I'm young. I've worked so hard to get where I am. And I have dreams that involve building something together. But now it feels like she doesn't want to build something with me, she just wants to secure something for herself. Look, I get it. Life isn't easy. People get hurt. And I don't blame her for having fears. We all do. But love, real love, is about building trust, not walls. It's about sharing, not signing your name off just to prove you're not a villain. What's messed with my head the most is that I started to feel guilty. Like maybe I was being selfish. Like maybe I was the problem. But then I sat down. I breathed. I thought about what she was really asking. To hand over something massive, a house, in her name only, while I cover everything. With no commitment, no ring, no shared responsibility. Just trust, all on my side. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, love doesn't demand blind sacrifice. It doesn't test you with, prove it by giving me everything. So I haven't made a final decision yet. I'm still trying to figure things out. But I've been journaling, reading, even talking to people online about it. And honestly, A lot of folks said the same thing. This isn't love. It's leverage. And maybe, just maybe, it's not that I changed. Maybe I'm finally seeing things clearly. Because now I find myself asking, can you really trust anyone with something that big besides your own family?
Let me just say this up front. I already know how this sounds. Like I'm shallow, materialistic, maybe even cold. But if you've ever built your entire life around something, a routine, a home, a version of comfort, then maybe you'll understand why I've done what I've done. I'm 32, married to my husband, who's 35. We've been together for 6 years, and it's fair to say our relationship is basically done. We don't sleep in the same room anymore. We don't have sex. We barely even talk, unless it's about bills, scheduling deliveries, or figuring out who's going to be home for the maintenance guy. And I'm pretty sure he's seeing someone else. I mean, his phone lights up at night like it's on fire, and he disappears for work dinners that never make sense. He doesn't even bother coming up with good excuses anymore. But the truth? I don't even care enough to ask. There's no more anger, no big fights, just this quiet, numb roommate dynamic that's settled in like dust. So why haven't I left? One word, the apartment. When he made partner last year, we upgraded. Big time. Moved into this luxury high-rise in Manhattan. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A skyline view that literally makes people stop mid-conversation when they walk in. Concierge. Pool. Gym. In-building yoga studio. Dog spa. We don't even have a dog. It's ridiculous. And it's also the nicest place I've ever lived. And over the past year, my entire life has started to revolve around this building. I've made friends here, mostly other women in similar situations. We go to yoga downstairs, hit the steam room, grab wine on the rooftop. The kind of life I used to fantasize about when I was stuck in a fifth-floor walk-up with no AIC and a radiator that hissed like a demon. So when the idea of divorce first popped into my head, like actually doing it, the very next thought was, I'd have to leave all of this. Because I can't afford it on my own. Not even close. I work in education, not exactly a salary that keeps up with Manhattan rent prices. If I left him, I'd be lucky to find a one-bedroom in Queens with a window that doesn't face a brick wall. I'd be starting over. New apartment, new neighborhood, no gym, no rooftop, no instant social life built into my elevator. It sounds superficial. I know that, but it also feels like survival. And here's the thing that really messes with my head. I don't miss him. Not really. I don't feel trapped in the marriage emotionally, just logistically. And I know there are people who would say, just go. Peace of mind is worth more than a pretty apartment. And maybe they're right. But is it so wrong to want to keep the life I've built, even if it means staying in a marriage that's more like a business arrangement now? My sister says yes. She told me I'm selfish, that I'm wasting time and holding on to a life that's fake. She says I'm afraid of being alone and too comfortable to make a change. But a few of my friends, they get it. They say I'm being practical. That if the relationship isn't toxic or abusive, and if I'm not actively miserable, then maybe this is just a version of modern marriage that people don't like to talk about. So now I'm here, caught between what I should do and what I want to keep. A part of me wonders, if the apartment didn't exist, if we lived somewhere ordinary, would I have left already? Probably. But the apartment does exist. And it's not just about granite countertops and city views. It's about stability. It's about community. It's about feeling like I've finally made it, even if the foundation underneath is cracked. So, does that make me the asshole? Because right now I'm still married. Not for love, not for hope, but for square footage.
Okay, so I'm 14 and my sister's 24. And no, we're not close. We never really have been. The age gap alone is enough to keep us on completely different planets, but it's more than that. We don't like the same things, we don't have the same values. And to be honest, she doesn't like me either. She's even said I'm her idea of hell. Why? Because I'm gay and she's openly homophobic. So yeah, we're not exactly braiding each other's hair and having heart-to-hearts. And when she got pregnant last year, things got worse. We went from not getting along to pretty much avoiding each other. She became even more selfish, more demanding, and somehow, everyone in the family just rallied around her like she was a saint. Meanwhile, I got told to be more supportive and respect her more because she's becoming a mother. Look, I don't hate babies. I really don't. I just don't get the obsession. I've never been around kids that much, and personally, I don't want children. They're loud, unpredictable, and they make messes of everything. Not exactly my vibe. But I was still polite when my nephew was born. I said congrats. I smiled. I even held him once, even though I was low-key terrified I'd drop him. And he is cute. I'll give him that. But the problem isn't the baby. It's everything and everyone around him. Now, anytime I so much as blink the wrong way, someone's accusing me of being cold or heartless. My sister says I hate the baby because I'm not always fawning over him or dropping everything to play nanny. She says I need to show more love, like she gets to decide how I'm supposed to feel. And then one day, I was in my room, just decompressing after a long day, and she bursts in accusing me of hating my nephew, that I need to start paying more attention and act like an aunt. And I just snapped a little. I told her, I'm not that bothered. He's a baby. I don't hate him. I just don't worship the ground he crawls on like you expect me to. Now, she refuses to let me near him. She's convinced I'll bring negative energy or be cold toward him. And that honestly hurts more than I expected. Not because I'm desperate to babysit or anything, but because I do care about him in my own way. I'm just not loud about it. I'm 14. I'm still figuring myself out. And it sucks being treated like I'm a monster just because I'm not putting on some over-the-top Annie performance for a baby I barely know. A baby whose mother treats me like garbage half the time. And the worst part, the adults in my family all side with her. They say I'm being immature, selfish, even jealous. That I need to be kinder, more understanding. Like she's this fragile little flower who needs everyone's unconditional love now that she's had a baby. But who's showing me love? Who's understanding me? Why is it that the second someone has a kid, everyone else's needs and feelings just disappear? So yeah, maybe what I said sounded harsh, but it was honest. And I'm tired of pretending everything's perfect just to keep the peace. My sister doesn't like who I am. She's made that very clear. But now she wants me to fake this big, loving relationship with her and her kid like nothing's wrong. I love my nephew, but I don't owe my sister a version of myself that's fake. So, AITA?
So this is my first time posting and I'm honestly kind of nervous. So sorry if anything's worded weird. I'm 22F and I'm engaged to my fiancé, 23M. We met in college, have been together ever since, and for the most part, it's been a good relationship. I love him. He's sweet, he tries, and he makes me laugh. Sometimes. But the issue is, he really leans into humor. Like all the time. Even when it's not appropriate. And sometimes his jokes are more like subtle digs, especially when he's got an audience. A few weeks ago, we went to one of his close friends' weddings. He was asked, kind of last minute, to give a toast. At first I was proud. He's not usually a public speaker, and I thought it might be sweet. A genuine moment. Something real. But instead, he used the mic to do what basically turned into a stand-up routine. And the center of his material, me. He said something like, well, if you think marriage is hard, just look at me and my wife. We fight like cats and dogs, but somehow haven't killed each other yet. People laughed. Then, I only proposed so she'd stop nagging me about it. Worked like a charm. More laughter. A few people even cheered. I just stood there, smiling, kind of. Because what else was I supposed to do? I didn't want to make a scene. It was his friend's wedding. Not the time, not the place. But inside, I felt humiliated. Afterward, I pulled him aside and told him that the speech hurt my feelings. He brushed it off, said I was being sensitive, that it was just a joke, and everyone thought it was hilarious. Which, sure, maybe they did. But I wasn't laughing. Fast forward to now. We're in full wedding planning mode. And recently, he said, I can't wait to give my speech at our wedding. I've got the best roast planned. And I immediately told him no. Absolutely not. I told him I didn't want to be roasted at my own wedding. That I didn't want a speech filled with jabs, funny insults, or stories that make me look stupid for the sake of a laugh. He got defensive. Said I was trying to control him. That I didn't get his sense of humor. That he wouldn't actually say anything too mean and that I should trust him. But I don't. At least not in this specific area. Because here's the thing. This isn't a birthday party. This isn't some casual friend's dinner. This is our wedding. Our one wedding. And I don't want to spend it standing there fake laughing while my future husband tells everyone how crazy, or naggy, or difficult I am, even if he thinks it's just a joke. I told a few friends. Some of them said I was being uptight, that wedding speeches are supposed to be fun, and that I'm killing the vibe. But others, especially the ones who've heard the way he talks sometimes, said I was completely right to draw a line. So now I feel stuck. I don't want to start our marriage on a note of me being made into the punchline. But I also don't want to seem controlling or humorless. I do love him. I do appreciate when he's funny, when it's not at my expense. But I honestly don't trust that he'll keep it respectful. So, AITA for telling him he's not allowed to make a funny speech at our wedding?